3 more minutes, perfect, how the system runs. And I wanted to give a quick overview of what is our picture currently. And so this was data from 2010. The utilities were required to report how much electricity they're getting from the different sources. And fortunately, I haven't had time to take data from the HECO family of utilities. I couldn't get data for our friends from Hawaii, but the picture looks similar. But if we look at Oahu, most of the blue here is non-renewable. Mostly oil, some coal in our case, but 95% from non-renewables, fossil fuel. Most of that, I think, was 85% oil, on about 10% from the coal plant. And up there, they call biomass here, that's H-Power, the waste energy plant. And so this was for 2010. The slivers up there, a tiny amount of it was the HECO's plant came online. There's some little bit of wind power there. And then some PV in the mix. When we look at the neighbor islands, looking at Maui and Big Island, here on the top, these are the wind plants on those islands. So we'll hear about the 30 megawatt wind plant here on the island of Maui is providing, it varies a little bit each year, but it's about 10% of their demand, and most of their other renewable energy is coming from the HCNS plant there that's burning the bagasse. And here the big difference over on the Big Island is the chunk here from the geothermal plant. So they're at about a little over 30%. Some hydro, they have some hydropower there. But, so if we look at it at a relative level, the Big Island has the most today, followed by Maui, and Oahu is lagging. But if we look on an absolute sense, first thing you see, this is the on the axis here is the total amount of electricity consumed for the year on each one of these islands, and Oahu is using 7 times the amount of electricity these other islands. So when you look at percentage-wise, they're producing a lot of renewables, but on the absolute scale, and really what this said for this state, we have a 40% renewable energy target, and this is the challenge. And we can do a lot on these islands, but to really get to 40%, we need to find ways to take significant dents into what we see in the blue over there. And a lot of debate on what to do, but at an aggregate level, if you look at where all the oil is going, it's to support us here for our energy consumption on this island. And that's just what the data say. What I wanted to finish with was the one study that we looked at, again, the large amount of wind and solar power. What if we did a large amount of wind and solar power here on Oahu? There's various ways of doing it. But that specific case was 400 megawatts of wind power imported into Oahu, 100 megawatts developed here, and 100 megawatts of solar power. That showed that these graphs are showing if you simulate the system for an entire year, where do you get your mix of electricity under those simulations. And this is showing that baseline case that I showed with no renewable energy in the picture. So all different types of oil and coal. And here, with the wind power and the solar power, it's up to about 25%, and then that's in addition to other sources we can get. So it's doesn't get you to 40%, but it takes a significant chunk out of the last graph that we saw. And what does that mean in other terms? I talked earlier about as you have wind, it's displacing energy from other sources. In terms of amounts of oil, barrels of oil, that would be about 2.8 million barrels of oil a year, and 132,000 tons of coal per year. And actually, that's all that I wanted to present for tonight, and just to keep it kind of how the grid operates with these different types of energy sources, some overview of where the current situation here for at least the islands that we looked at, and kind of what types of steps are needed to get to some of the targets that we have set for the state here. I guess we'll have questions afterwards. So.
Thank you. So thanks for running the PowerPoint. Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
I didn't know that. But okay, so our next presenter is HECO, and he's from First Wind. Some of you may or may not know about what First Wind is or who they are. Well, from what I understand, you guys are a big company from America, yeah? And you guys just came out to Oahu 5 years ago, or Hawaii 5 years ago. And I'm just gonna put in, I used to work at HECO as like a water quality specialist. And what we used to do at Kahe and Waiau was clean the traps for where the water would come in to cool the power plants. And none of you guys want that job, just to let you know that. But there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. It's not just energy. There's the interaction and the interplay between our ocean and our energy supply is really tight. And if we don't clean those traps and they get backed up, and just like, you know, a small thing, just cleaning the traps is pretty easy. But there's a lot more jobs than just people flipping on the switch and checking that out. Just to put that out there, because if you guys ever have to go in the power plant, it's beautiful. You wouldn't think so, but because there's that interface between the ocean and the power plant, there's this huge area that actually like holds loads of fish. And they live in that little area, so that was another nugget. But okay, thank you, HECO, for coming, talking story.
Thank you. Aloha kako. Aloha. Before I begin with my formal presentation, I would like to ask if you give me just a moment in which to offer an oli, asking for your aloha, because I know there's very strong feelings both for and against wind energy. So I ask for your aloha as well as my ancestors, whom I represent, and hopefully bring good to my name. Ina oivi o kaina aloha e mai au e ki pane e mai au e komo aku e aloha 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 Okay, next slide please. Again, my name is Kekoa Kaluhiwa, and I serve as Director of Community and Government Relations for the company called First Wind. Quick background on myself, I'm from Kaneohe, born and raised, got my bachelor's not at UH, from University of Washington in Seattle. However, I'm very happy to say in 2008 I received my master's here at UH in public administration. I've been in this company for almost 2 years next month. Prior to coming to First Wind, I served as an executive assistant to Senator Akaka here in Honolulu for 11 years. He actually hired me right out of grad school at UW, so I thought I'd be there 2 years, ended up 11 years. But still was able to go back to school. So here I am representing this company called First Wind. Basically, we are an independent wind energy company, meaning we develop, we construct, own, and operate commercial scale wind projects. We currently have 11 projects on the, both here in Hawaii and the mainland. Basically, Vermont, Maine, New York, Utah, and here in Hawaii. That's about 735 megawatts of wind energy that we provide on an annual basis. But we're very proud to tell people that the very first project we built was here on the island of Maui. As you fly into Kahului, you'll notice on the left side on the West Maui Mountains, at Kahiava, we have our first project built 5 years ago that I'll talk about in a second. We are based in Boston, Massachusetts, with a local partnership here with Makani Nui Associates here on the island of Maui. Before I continue, when Katie offered an invitation to me to come present tonight, I really thought, man, what am I going to say? You know, I have to admit, Jay's the technical guru, and you'll hear from the chair, Mina Morita, not just someone from the PUC, but the chair of the Public Utilities Commission here tonight, who will talk about the regulatory framework. And then there's me, and I'm not really sure, I wasn't quite sure how to go about my presentation, but basically, I want to just talk to you a little bit about the community development that we go through as a developer. I'm only going to refer to the projects that we're doing. I'm not here tonight, frankly, to talk about Lanai or Molokai. They're not projects we are currently considering at all. So just want to make that clear. I want to just give you a brief overview of the projects that we do have or are currently constructing. Next slide, please. So this is a map, if you will, of the basically 4 projects that I deal with on a daily basis. The first one we built was Kahiava Wind Power on Maui. It's a 30 megawatt project. We're currently constructing a second phase to that project. For permitting purposes, it's an entirely separate project, though they're right next to each other. That's going to be another 21 megawatt project that we're building now. About a year ago, March of 2011, we built Kahuku Wind Power here on Oahu. That's a 30 megawatt project. And then we're about to construct this month Kawailoa Wind Power. Basically, this is a project here on the North Shore that I'll talk about later in my presentation. So essentially, 4 projects in the mix right now in Hawaii. Next slide, please. So our philosophy as a company, especially in Hawaii, what is our kuleana? What is our responsibility as a developer of these projects? We seek to be an active participant in the communities that we have our projects. We work closely with the Native Hawaiian communities, Hawaiian homestead communities, THL, OHA, a number of Native Hawaiian groups, and I can expand upon that in a second. Basically, though, our motto is to utilize the wind project as an educational tool for our youth in Hawaii. And I'll show you a lot of pictures. I'm a very visual person, so I'll show you some photos of that. Basically, right here we have school kids from the island of Maui who come up and they've helped us revegetate that site. Next slide, please. So this is an aerial view of the existing project, Kahiava Wind Power 1. As I said, it was built in 2006. We just celebrated 5 years of operations. These 20 turbines provide about 9% of Maui's energy right now. Pretty substantial if you think about it. That's enough for about 11,000 homes on Maui. The second phase will include 14 turbines and be able to power about 7,700 homes. Next slide, please. So this is the existing project, just for a frame of reference. This is Ma'alaya Harbor is down here. You guys ever been to the aquarium? This is an area called Kahiava Pastures. So these are the existing 20 turbines. We're putting up 14 more just along here, down here, Makai of the existing project. That's actually going into construction now. We are about to put up the second turbine tomorrow. They should all 14 should be up probably by early April. Pretty quick construction process. Next slide, please. This is a Mauka Vantage looking Makai above the existing project. Hanaula, as far as cultural significance, is very well documented. It's a very, very special place. In the construction of this project, it was made clear by the community and cultural practitioners that we should not construct further Mauka than the existing project today. And so that's it, basically considering this vau akua. So that's a commitment that we made earlier on. We would not build turbines any further than the existing project. Next slide, please. Real quickly, I wanted to touch upon what we call a habitat conservation plan. Now, a lot of people, one of the assumptions is that wind turbines kill birds, right? That's a common accusation. I'm very happy to share with people, for our Maui wind farm, we have the first habitat conservation plan for any wind farm in the United States. That basically says, under the Endangered Species Act, federal, and the endangered species laws state, we have crafted this conservation plan that will provide a net benefit to any species, any identified native bird and mammal species. Basically, for our Maui wind farm, we've identified a Hawaiian petrel, Newell shearwater, the Hawaiian dark-rumped petrel, as well as the Hawaiian hoary bat. I'm sorry, not the, and the nene, I'm sorry. With those species in mind, we're permitted to construct these projects, provided that we give a net benefit to each of them. So basically what it means, we do a lot of habitat restoration on Maui, on Kauai. We put forward a lot of funds, as well as having full-time biologists that work on site. As a quick example, just to kind of give you an idea of the net benefit. So we know that nene may be impacted by the wind project on Maui, the existing project. The Fish and Wildlife Service permits us to have an incidental take, if you will, of those nene. We support a captive nene release program on Maui, up in Halakala. And so for the 5 years of operation of that this project, we've been able to give birth to about 10 goslings per year for 5 years. That's essentially about 50 nene being born in captivity and released into the wild. So far, I'm aware of about 8, I think 9 nene that we've had deceased takes at the property in the 5 years. But as you can see, the net benefit far outweighs the take. And so that generally applies to all of these species. It's a very strict protocol that we follow with Fish and Wildlife Service and the Department of Land and Natural Resources here. We're very proud to have the first conservation plan, as I said, for any wind farm here in Hawaii on the island of Maui. Next slide, please. Caring for the land from Mauka to Makai. The upper 3 turbines are actually in a native low-lying dry land forest. If you go up there, especially, I was just there yesterday, it's like the Garden of Eden. We have all the different color, ohia lehua, pukiawe, ulei, ali'i, all blossoming right now. It's absolutely beautiful. Some of which were there before we constructed. So what happened was, before we developed this project, we took a lot of the seeds from the area, took them to a native nursery up at Haiku. Had a native nursery actually propagate the plants. After we constructed the turbines, we brought the plants back. And to today, we're still revegetating the site. So I would honestly tell you, we've now brought back more native plants to the area than we had prior to construction. Next slide, please. It's just I just wanted to show you a few shots. Again, these are some photos I've taken in the last 6 months or so. Down here we have an existing partnership. I'm very, very pleased and humbled to have with Maui Cultural Lands. This is Auntie Pua Lindsay. Her husband had formerly been the director of MCL, but he passed away a couple of years ago. So she carries on the torch with this nonprofit. They help us basically with the native revegetation program. They, as you can see here, these are some students from UH Maui College. She's teaching them about the native species, or maybe non-native species that you see there. So we do an active outreach program. Between what they do, I actually host a ton of tours for residents as well as international folks interested in wind energy. Photo of Nene right below the turbines. Katie mentioned the oli that Kapuno'ai Mulitau had composed. He shared that as well with us. That oli speaks of the 13 winds that you find between Maui and Kaho'olawe that come through there. And so these are some of the immersion school students on our site actually offering that oli in recognition of the wind resource there that we still practice today. Next slide, please. More of revegetation, some of the tours that we provide. As I mentioned, we have full-time wildlife biologists on site doing conservation work. We currently have 4 and are in the process of hiring more. So any of you in the biological arena, especially plants, if you're interested in working in support of something like this, we do have positions currently available and a few more to come at firstwind.com. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's Kahiawa. That's the currently operating project on Maui, as well as the one we're constructing now. Kahuku Wind Power, as I said, is almost a year now in operation. Most of you, if you drive through the North Shore on Oahu, you can't miss it. If you drive through Kahuku Town, you'll see it right there in front of you. We have 12 turbines there that are capable, we expect, to power about 7,700 homes annually on this particular island. As we talked about the names of the wind in Hawaiian culture, we also share that with our visitors there. The particular wind that we have in Kahuku is called aha manu. So, for all the guys in Hawaiian studies, manu means what? Bird. Those of you who may not understand, aha means to gather. So when you're a wind developer, it kind of makes sense to recognize that. You're building a site in a place that's known for a gathering of birds. So these are the kinds of things we like to share with school kids to really respect and come to know the land in which you're situated. Next slide, please. Okay, so Jay talked about basic 3 minutes. Whew, thank you. I think we're about there. So Jay talked about the intermittency with wind energy, right? We're also very proud for the Kahuku Wind Farm. This is the first wind farm in the United States to have a battery energy storage system. This is an actual photo of the internal facility. What we have here are 12,000 batteries that basically they allow us to control the output of energy from the wind farm to HECO's transmission line. They smooth out the energy. As the wind goes up and down, this actually either pulls energy or pushes it out, like in a millisecond. So this is a really big deal in the industry, being able to actually have a smooth output of energy. This battery is meant for short-term storage, just to smooth out the energy, not long-term storage. And that's the big question that everybody in the industry would love to have. How can we store energy long-term? But first of its kind here in Kahuku. Next slide, please. First Wind's approach, as I talked about, we work very hard. We start our conversations always with the local community in which we are looking to build a project. Okay, so in this case, just want to mention, these are the areas that were identified by the community. Should we consider building a wind farm, this is what they would like to see us help with long term. Because we're there for 20 years, if that wasn't clear. The power purchase agreement is for 20 years. We're there for long term. So how do we become good members of the community? So these are the areas that we help to support. Next slide, please. These are the Kahuku students. As I said, we host a ton of tours. I had 2 today. You can read. Next slide, please. These are some pictures I just took today, actually. Wheeler Element Intermediate, Wailu Intermediate school kids that came out today. Sorry, a little blurry. These are our biologists showing them what it takes to actually do their day-to-day work. All the monitoring that they do, the bat monitors that take these frequency readings so we can tell how many bats are flying through the project. We had some dignitaries from Japan visiting this afternoon. Can't really see me because of the sun, I'm just dark in general. But you know, folks wanting to learn about the battery system. What is it that's so innovative? Next slide, please. I'll just breeze through these slides. This was the groundbreaking event. We had the Kahuku cheerleaders come and assist us with. Next slide, please. The teachers from Kahuku High School. We've made a long-term commitment with the high school, who's pretty much right next door. How can we utilize this wind farm as an educational tool for the students? We really mean that. So, next slide, please. The film club came out and documented all throughout construction. They're going to be creating videos of their own to learn about clean energy. Share this story with others. Next slide. One of the great things, real quickly, with wind energy, provided you have to have community support. Number one. Promoting agriculture was a priority of this community. So we have residents from the area actually raising cattle on the property. Now that we're constructed, we have it's a 570-acre parcel, the majority of which is now available for ag, or as I said, raising cattle. So we have active ranching on the property site. Next slide. I just took a few more photos to show you. These are the blades that came in. Memorial Day 2010 to Barber's Point. All 36 blades coming in by barge. I like to tell kids this. It's basically like a surfboard. The blades are 156 feet long, well, not the length, but the material itself is made out of balsa wood. It's light and flexible and encased in fiberglass. Next slide, please. More of the construction effort that takes the jobs that are created. Through construction, we had a little over 200 local workers building this project. So it was a great boost to the local economy during construction last year and the last 2 years. Next slide, please. One of the cool shots I took, the very first blade, when I started this job, I'm sorry to run over in just a minute, but I got to tell you, this is my biggest headache coming to this job, is how to explain to the community we can do this safely. We apologize for the minimal, the traffic disruptions through this process. But this is Waimea Bay. This is the bridge crossing Waimea Bay. So for every blade that had to go through there, we had to stop traffic for a while. So my headache for a while was actually dealing with media and community concerns. But I'm happy to say we had no incidents. It was successfully executed. Next slide, please. Going through sunset. Next slide. Pretty cool shot of the guys waiting for the rotor to be stabbed onto the nacelle. On top here are 4 generators that actually create the electricity. So this is the top off, if you will. They got to fit this into those little holes. They got a bunch of basically screws that have got to go in. Next slide. I think we're almost there. Finishing the top off. All the guys very happy, successful. Next slide. And real quickly, I want to just mention to you the project here on Oahu that we're now constructing called Kawailoa Wind. It's basically on Kamehameha School's land. That's going to be between Waimea Valley and Haleiwa Town. Mauka, at least a mile Mauka from Kamehameha Highway. We're going to have 30 turbines. We've been in the development process for this project for a while now. All the permits have been approved. We've done community outreach, continue to do community outreach. 30 turbines, almost 500 feet each, 493 feet tall. Again, Kamehameha Schools being landowner. Now the pitch that I love about this project, despite whatever you feel about the energy, this area is agriculture. So the least revenues, at least for Kamehameha Schools, the least revenue that they get from us being there is that they're going to put it back into maintaining ag. So they're currently putting up fencing to raise cattle. Some of those irrigation ditches over there are over 100 years old. So they're going to invest in actually improving that, bringing more ag, locally grown produce in that area. I believe that's all I have. Yeah. I want to thank you again for letting me share with you tonight. I think I might be the only guy really talking about only wind. But I think it's a great overview with what Jay's sharing and what Chair Marita is sharing tonight. I thank you for the opportunity. I apologize. I have a 3-year-old who I haven't seen in a couple of days because I've been off island. But here's my contact information. Somebody really wants to ask a question. Here's my contact information. Please do not hesitate to call or email if you have any questions with regard to what we do, First Wind. I would also offer to you, if you would like to have a tour of Kahuku or Kahiava, we would be most happy to coordinate that. I would ask you maybe we come to you, Katie, and we'll find a date and time.
Email's right there,
yeah.
Phone number. You can even go visit his office even. Go visit his office, everybody.
My office depends where I'm at. It changes every week. We do have an office downtown, but I'm in Kahuku or Maui back and forth. So, thank you very much.
Mahalo. Okay, so we're running late. I'm not going to say Hawaiian time. So if people have to go, I understand. But definitely, Antipua got the axe in this place at 9. So we have to be out of here at 9. But definitely want Hermita to talk. And then, actually, if people want to stay and talk story afterwards, we're going to try and do a short talk story. Where'd you go? Oh, she's still there. So yeah, Hermita, you can come up. Thank you for coming. And then just to let people know, the exercise that we're going to do afterwards for people that want to participate, there's going to be 4 chairs up here. And what this thing is called, it's called a fish bowl. Has anybody owned a fish in a bowl before? Yes. Okay, so usually you look at the fish in the bowl, right? You don't take them out and play with it or anything. So this thing is called a fish bowl. I'm just going to premise it because right after Hermina's done, then we'll try it out and see how it works out. So what it is there's going to be 4 chairs up here. And if you want to talk or if you want to ask a question, don't raise your hand because we're not in elementary school. We're at the University of Hawaii, right? So we're supposed to do things better. So if you have something to say or if you have a question, you just sit in the seat and you just talk until you're POW. And we don't have anything else to share, you leave. And that's pretty much it. So if you're sitting up here, you can talk. And anybody can talk about whatever they saw tonight, ask questions to the people, the speakers. And what it does is, if I'm sitting up here and Hermina's sitting up here, I can be like, how do I hold the Public of Utilities Commission responsible for the energy of Hawaii? And then if I don't have anything else, I just get up and Hermina will respond to that. Does everybody kind of get what that is? It's a new thing. It's an unconference thing. And I'll introduce a couple other people that I invited afterwards. But you don't have a PowerPoint, yeah? Okay. Or we can
try to be really quick because I'm sure everybody has a lot of questions. You know, when I got the letter from Katie and we finally talked, I was going to decline to come because of my position, and because the Public Utilities Commission is a quasi-judicial agency, all of these projects would come before us for decision, so I have to be really careful in what I say in public. But one of the things that Katie, when we started talking, she said, "Oh, I didn't know you were Native Hawaiians." And so I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to see what the face of the Public Utilities Commission looks like, because it's a very misunderstood agency, and people think we're a rubber stamp for HECO, and a lot of people don't like us because we raise rates, and that's what we're known for, raising rates most of the time. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for you to get to sort of know me personally and why I'm in this position. I was appointed last March by the governor to become the chair of the Public Utilities Commission, but for 15 years I was in the legislature. And when I first started in the legislature, I represented a canoe district, which was East and North Kauai and East Maui. So from the HECO area to Kaupo on Maui, and from Kapa'a to Haena on Kauai. And in my second term as a legislator, I was named the chair of the Energy and Environmental Protection Committee. I had originally asked for Water Land Committee because I got into, I became a citizen activist through water issues. And so I thought, oh, great, I want to be Water Land Chair. And they wouldn't give it to me because they thought I was too controversial. and so I ended up with Energy and Environmental Protection because nobody else wanted that committee. And so my first year as the committee chair, I really concentrated on energy and on environmental programs because the economy was down and all of these environmental programs were being cut in the budget. And as a result, as a committee chair, none of my bills passed and I ended up with zero, nothing accomplished. And during the interim, I saw an article in the Honolulu Advertiser, and basically what it said is, we're sort of like a canary in the coal mine in because of climate change issues and the threat of rising sea levels. And it was talking about Micronesia area, the impact of tourism there and climate change. And I went, this isn't about them, this is about us. I mean, we're islands too, and the same thing could happen here. And so I started looking more into climate change issues, and I came to the conclusion that if I really wanted to save environmental programs, I really had to work on the economy, and if I wanted to have a prosperous economy in Hawaii, I really have to stabilize energy pricing. And at that time, a barrel of oil was running between $18 and $25 a barrel. And today we're over, we're probably about $132 to $140 a barrel. And one of the first public appearances I ever made on energy issues was through Life of the Land with Henry Curtis right here. And my big proposal was introducing a bill for renewable energy portfolio standards. And what renewable energy portfolio standards was supposed to do is set a minimum amount, set a floor for electricity generated from renewable energy, and that would create a market for renewable energy in Hawaii. And so I think it was in 2001, I introduced the bill, and in 2002, a very watered down version of the bill passed, where it set goals. And the primary goal was 20% electricity from renewables by 2020. And it was only a goal just asking the utilities to do this. In 2000, and the bill got a little bit stronger over the years, but not much. And in 2008, the state signed the energy agreement with the Department of Energy. And that brought a lot of momentum to energy issues. In 2009, we passed an amended renewable portfolio standard where we upped it to 40% renewable by 2030, with penalties to the utilities. And so that's the real momentum behind this push for renewable energy, that we have a mandatory objective with penalties to the utilities if they don't meet these certain benchmarks. And so the next benchmark is 15% renewables by 2015 and 25% by 2020 and 40% by 2030. So that's what's causing the momentum. But you know, in general, Hawaii's energy strategy is a multi-pronged approach that, while there's a lot of attention on renewable energies, we really have to be looking at how we use energy, using it efficiently. So energy efficiency is another piece that's very important. And we passed the bill with an energy efficiency portfolio standard. And that's 4,300 gigawatts electricity use reduction by 2030. But what a lot of people forget is, even under the best conditions, that in 2030, 60% of our energy will still come from fossil fuels. And you know, a lot of us forget that. So unless there's major technological breakthroughs, we're still, the majority of our electricity will still come from fossil fuels. So, you know, the basic philosophy of the PUC, with me there as chair, is that we have to use what we have. So that pushes renewable energy in Hawaii. Use what we have. Use as little bit as possible. So when we use this energy, and especially fossil fuel, you know, the least amount we use, the better. And then use it wisely. So use it wisely means that we really have to push efficiency measures carefully. But the purpose of the PUC is to make sure that we align the performance of the utilities to serve the public interest. And in doing so, we have to do it as cost effectively as possible, and really looking at making sure that rates are just and reasonable. That's the standard of regulation, and that we are fair, and that we're fair to everybody. And I think one of the fairest ways that we can produce electricity equitably is through a utility. You know, there's a lot of talk about distributed generation, but when the cost is shared by everybody and everybody moves forward together, that's probably the most equitable way of proceeding. And what I really want to end with is that I hope that the kinds of values that I bring to the PUC, being a native Hawaiian, will bring some Hawaiian sensibility to the regulation arena, where we look at how we operate the system as an ecosystem with all these different pieces working together in concert, that we move together as a community, that we are really helping each other to bring the best values forward as we all rely on electricity. We all share in the cost and the benefits, and that we move together. So again, you know, I hope people recognize that through this kind of leadership, that no, we're not a rubber stamp for the utility, that we're trying to, again, serve the public interest. And I hope that our communities will have enough trust in our agency that we are working to serve you, to represent the public, and make our decisions to serve everybody's best interests. Thank you.
Okay, so I know we're pretty close on time, but again, if people need to leave, can. Again, there's fruits outside. We don't want to take any of it home because it's all fresh and lovely, but we can make shakes in for breakfast if you guys don't want the fruits. There's also some more ava and some flavored water with lemon, lime, and mint. Okay, so I was actually doing research at the archives yesterday, and I was looking up something for MANOA, and what did I trip on? But the Public Utilities Inception in legislation, which was created in 1913, and it has I scanned the first report from PUC, and all of what originally was 98 years ago. So it was kind of weird that she's presenting and then all of that, because I didn't really know what it was, but I read the first document randomly.
I forgot to tell you that I'm the first woman chair of the PUC.
There you go. But I think we're gonna try to do this fishbowl action. I just wanna, if anything, give you guys one poo-poo, see if you guys like it, and if you guys do, then maybe we'll do it again. But again, if anybody has questions, and maybe the high side guys, we can kick it off if you guys feel comfortable. But I'll sit up. I wanted to recognize a couple people that aren't making formal presentations, but are working in wind energy. Maybe not on the same side, but it's a different point of view. And as academics, as all of us are on the Corps, we agreed that in order to present the best argument to the community, we needed all sides. So I just wanted to acknowledge the Evanses, and Martha and Anella, who are from the NUTI. I forgot to say that.